The alien queen couldn't believe the human she married unveiled his true power. Hundreds of alien nobles filled the chamber, their forms tall, scaled, feathered, or smooth-skinned, all gathered for an event the galaxy had whispered about for months. Queen Xyrala stood at the center dais, her posture perfect, her crown of iridescent metal resting between the ridges of her elongated skull. She was powerful, feared, and respected across a dozen star systems. Her people, the Virelians, were known for their advanced technology and disciplined fleets. Many believed no force could threaten her empire. And yet, today, the galaxy did not watch her. They watched the human. Elia's ward stood beside the queen, hands calmly folded behind his back. He wore a simple dark ceremonial suit tailored to fit his average human frame. No armor, no weapons, no symbols of rank. Compared to the towering alien rulers around him, he looked small, fragile, almost out of place. Whispers moved through the hall like a low current. A human, that's the mate. Is this some kind of joke? Humans were known but not feared. They were traders, engineers, diplomats. Clever, yes. Adaptable, maybe. But physically weaker than most spacefaring species, with no great empire of their own. Their worlds were scattered, their fleets modest. To many in the hall, this marriage felt less like a union and more like a curiosity. Queen Xyrala raised one clawed hand and the hall fell silent. "By the laws of the Virelian throne," she announced, her voice calm and commanding, "this union is recognized. Elia's ward of Earth is now consort to the queen." The words echoed, carried by the hall's living walls into the minds of all present. Elias inclined his head slightly. No dramatic gesture, no proud smile, just a simple acknowledgement. The ceremony ended shortly after, polite applause following. Diplomats exchanged looks. Military leaders made quiet notes. Somewhere far beyond the hall, data streams updated, political marriage confirmed. Low strategic risk. That assessment felt correct to most. Later, within the private chambers of the royal spire, the atmosphere was quieter. The walls glowed a soft blue, responding to the queen's relaxed state. Xyrala removed her crown and placed it on a stand grown from the floor. She turned to Elias. "You were very calm today," she said. "Many would have been overwhelmed." Elias smiled faintly. "I've been in crowded rooms before." She studied him with eyes that had judged admirals and condemned traitors. He met her gaze without challenge or fear. That alone had intrigued her when the council first suggested the union. "You understand this marriage is political," she said. "There is no illusion of romance." "Of course," Elias replied. "Stability benefits both sides." Again, no ambition in his voice, no hunger for power. Xyrala nodded. Humans were known for ambition, but this one seemed different. He asked few questions, made no demands. When the treaty negotiations had taken place, Elias had spoken only when asked, offering small but insightful comments that smoothed tensions rather than inflamed them. Useful, she thought, but not dangerous. Over the next few weeks, Elias settled into life within the spire. He walked the gardens that spiraled around the tower, watching the floating insects pollinate glowing blossoms. He attended court sessions, standing quietly at the queen's side. He listened more than he spoke. The court began to ignore him. That suited Elias just fine. He observed how information flowed, who spoke first, who stayed silent, who pretended to agree while planning something else. He learned the rhythms of Virelian politics, the unspoken rules, the weight of tradition. At night, he accessed public data terminals, reading about past wars, alliances, and losses. No one restricted him. Why would they? He was only human. Beyond the Empire's borders, however, eyes were watching. The Car Dominion, a militaristic coalition of armored species, had long desired Virelian territory. They had waited decades for weakness. When news of the Queen's marriage reached them, their analysts reacted with interest. "A human consort," one commander scoffed. "Softness." "The Virelians seek diplomacy," another said. They weaken their image. Plans began to form. The first sign of trouble came as a routine report during a court session. A border listening station had gone silent. Likely a systems failure, one general said. Elias tilted his head slightly. How long since last signal? He asked. The room paused. A few nobles glanced at him, surprised he had spoken. 3 cycles, the general replied. Elias frowned just a little. That station reports every half cycle, even during maintenance. The general bristled. We built it, we know its protocols. I'm sure, Elias said calmly, but silence patterns matter more than ownership. Queen Zyrala raised a hand before the discussion could escalate. Dispatch a probe, she ordered. Hours later, the probe returned images of wreckage, clean cuts, precision strikes. No debris field consistent with an accident. The hall buzzed with tension. Car, someone whispered. Queen Zyrala's expression hardened. Prepare defensive fleets, increase patrols. The nobles nodded. War was not unexpected, but it was never welcome. As preparations began, Elias approached the queen in private. May I ask a question? He said. She gestured for him to continue. Why are your patrols evenly spaced? He asked. Your borders are wide, but threats rarely approach evenly. They have always been so, she replied. Uniform coverage ensures fairness. Elias nodded. Fairness is good, but danger isn't fair. She studied him again, that careful gaze returning. What would you suggest? A focus on likely vectors, he said, based on trade routes, past conflicts, and resource interest. You have access to those records, she asked. Public summaries, he replied. Enough to see patterns. Silence stretched between them. You speak as if you've done this before, she said. In different ways, Elias answered. Zyrala considered, then issued a limited command to adjust patrol density, not because she trusted him fully, but because his logic was sound. 2 days later, a car scouting force was intercepted exactly where Elias had predicted. The generals were impressed. Some were unsettled. Word spread quietly through the spire. The human noticed things. Still, no one believed it meant much. Intelligence alone did not win wars. The first true attack came without ceremony. A car fleet breached a mining system near the border, overwhelming local defenses. Refugee ships fled toward Virelian space. Queen Zyrala convened an emergency council. We respond with force, a warlord demanded. Crush them before they advance further. Our fleets are strong, another agreed. This is an insult. Elias listened. When the queen turned to him, he did not hesitate. They want you to respond that way, he said. The room went quiet again. Explain, the queen said. They tested your border. Now they test your pride, Elias continued. If you overcommit, they'll draw you into stretched supply lines. The warlord scoffed. You presume to understand car strategy. Elias met his gaze. They've fought 3 major conflicts in the last century. Same opening move, same follow-up. He brought up a holographic projection, something no one had seen him do before. Data points appeared, pulled from public records and historical summaries. The pattern was undeniable. Murmurs filled the chamber. Queen Zyrala felt something shift inside her, not fear but awareness. You've been preparing, she said quietly. I've been paying attention, Elias replied. The council agreed to a measured response. Defensive positioning, delayed engagement, days passed. The car advanced, confident the Virelians were hesitant. Then the traps closed. Supply ships vanished. Communication relays failed. Small, precise strikes weakened the invading force without revealing the full Virelian fleet. The car commanders grew confused. This was not how the Virelians usually fought. From the command balcony, Queen Zyrala watched the battle reports stream in. Elias stood beside her, calm as ever. You hide your strength well, she said. So does your empire, he replied. She turned to him. Humans are said to be weak. Elias smiled, not with pride but with something deeper. Humans survive. For the first time since their marriage, Queen Xyrala felt she truly did not know the being standing at her side. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the stars, the Car Dominion began to realize they had made a serious mistake. The human was not just a symbol. He was something else entirely. The stars beyond the Virelian border burned cold and distant, but the tension inside the royal spire burned hot. Reports flowed without pause. Ships moved. Orders echoed through fleets. What had begun as a careful defense was turning into something larger. Queen Xyrala stood before a wide holo display showing the contested systems. Blue lights marked Virelian positions. Red lights marked the Car Dominion. The red lights were slowing but not stopping. "They are regrouping," one admiral said. "This resistance was unexpected." Elia's ward stood slightly behind the queen as he usually did. He watched the display in silence, his eyes tracking movement rather than color. "They are testing again," he said calmly. The admiral turned, irritation clear on his ridged face. "Testing what? We have already bloodied them." "Your response," Elias replied. "They want to see if you will push forward now." Queen Xyrala did not look away from the display. "And if we do?" "They retreat, drawing you deeper," Elias said. "If you don't, they escalate elsewhere." Silence followed. The pattern was clear and unsettling. The queen exhaled slowly. "They know we are cautious." "They believe caution equals weakness," Elias said. That word lingered in the air. Weakness. For generations, the Virelians had balanced strength and restraint. It was how their empire survived. But now, an enemy was using that balance against them. "Prepare countermeasures," Xyrala ordered. "But we will not chase them." As the council dispersed, Xyrala remained behind with Elias. "You speak with certainty," she said, "yet you have never commanded a fleet." "No," Elias agreed, "but I've studied how people think when they believe they are stronger." She turned to face him fully. "You are still hiding something." Elias met her gaze, calm and open. "Not hiding, waiting." "For what?" "For the moment it matters." She did not press him further, though curiosity gnawed at her. She had ruled too long to force answers before their time. In the days that followed, the Car Dominion changed tactics. Instead of direct advances, they struck at supply routes. Merchant convoys vanished. Outposts went dark. Panic rippled through trade networks. Within the spire, tension rose. "Our economy will suffer," one noble argued. "We must secure trade lanes." "That is exactly what they want," Elias said during one council session. "They want you reacting, not thinking." The warlord slammed his clawed hand against the table. "You speak too freely for a consort." Elias turned to him slowly. "And you speak too loudly for a strategist." Gasps followed. No one spoke to the warlord that way. Before anger could explode, Queen Xyrala raised her hand. "Enough! He speaks with my permission." The warlord fell silent, but his glare promised resentment. After the meeting, Xyrala walked with Elias through the upper gardens. The artificial sky glowed with a calm purple hue. "You make enemies," she said. "I'm aware," Elias replied. "Why provoke them?" "Because fear reveals priorities," he said. "And your warlord fears losing control more than losing the war." She stopped walking. "You see too much." "I've had practice," Elias said quietly. That night, Elias requested access to restricted archives. The request surprised the Queen's advisors. Such access was rarely granted, even to high-ranking officials. "Why now?" Xyrala asked him privately. "Because the next phase won't be fought only with fleets," Elias replied, "and because the Car are not the only ones watching." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "You will have access." Within hours, Elias was deep inside the data vaults, ancient conflicts, lost technologies, forgotten alliances. He cross-referenced everything with human historical methods, searching for gaps rather than answers. He noticed something troubling. The Car attacks were too precise for simple aggression. Their supply disruptions targeted specific materials, rare components, specialized alloys. "They aren't just invading," Elias murmured to himself. They're harvesting. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the car launched a sudden assault on a lightly defended system. Virelian commanders rushed to respond. "It's a trap," Elias said the moment he saw the report. The admiral hesitated. "We cannot abandon the system." "You don't need to abandon it," Elias said. "You need to let them think you have." The idea was risky, unthinkable to many. Queen Zyrala listened carefully. "Explain." "Pull visible forces back," Elias said. "Hide mobile units in the shadow lanes. Let them advance. Then cut their exit." The plan went against traditional doctrine, but tradition had already failed. "Do it," the Queen said. The execution was flawless. As the car fleet moved in, confident and aggressive, hidden Virelian ships closed in from unexpected angles. Supply ships were isolated. Command vessels jammed. The car fleet suffered heavy losses and retreated in disarray. Cheers erupted across Virelian space. But Elias did not celebrate. "They'll change tactics again," he said, and they did. Days later, a message arrived from the Car Dominion. Not a threat, an offer. They proposed negotiations, shared resource zones, a temporary ceasefire. Many Virelian nobles saw relief. A pause in the war would stabilize trade. Elias saw danger. "They don't negotiate from weakness," he told the Queen. "They negotiate when they've found something." "What could they have found?" she asked. "Us," Elias said, "or something inside your territory." As if summoned by his words, a new report arrived. A research facility in deep space had gone silent, not destroyed, simply empty. "That facility studied energy resonance," the Queen said. "It's experimental." Elia's expression darkened. "That's it." "What is?" "They're not afraid of your fleets," Elias said. "They're afraid of what you might awaken." The Queen felt a chill. "Explain." "Some technologies don't need armies," Elias said. "They need time." She looked at him sharply. "And humans know about this." Elias hesitated for the first time. "Humans have encountered similar paths, some we chose not to follow." Before she could ask more, alarms sounded across the spire. Multiple car fleets emerged simultaneously along distant borders. Not one front, 5. "They're forcing division," the admiral shouted. Queen Zyrala's mind raced. "We cannot cover all fronts." Elias stepped forward. "You can if you stop thinking in fronts." He projected a new hologram. The pattern was complex, elegant, and unfamiliar. "This is not a battle map," Elias said. "It's a behavior map. They expect reaction. We give them silence." "Silence," the admiral echoed. "We disappear," Elias said, "digitally, visually, logistically." The room stared at him. "For how long?" the Queen asked. "Long enough," Elias replied, "for them to doubt reality." The plan was radical, dangerous, but desperation had opened doors tradition kept shut. "Do it," Queen Zyrala said again. Across Virelian space, fleets went dark. Signals vanished. Stations went quiet. To the galaxy, it appeared the Empire had collapsed into chaos. The car advanced eagerly. Then their sensors failed. Navigation errors multiplied. Communication delays spread panic. Every move they made felt wrong. Hidden Virelian forces struck surgically, never staying long enough to be traced. From the command balcony, the Queen watched in awe. "This is not how we wage war," she said. Elias nodded. "It's how humans survive." She turned to him slowly. "You are not just an observer." "No," Elias agreed. "I never was." "What are you then?" she asked. Elias looked out at the stars. "A reminder." Somewhere deep within human space, long-dormant systems stirred. Not weapons, protocols, contingencies. And far away, the Car Dominion's leaders began to argue among themselves, unsure how an empire could vanish and still strike. For the first time, fear crept into their ranks, not fear of the Virelians. Fear of the humans standing beside their queen. The silence spread across Virelian space like a held breath. Trade lanes that once glowed with signals were empty. Patrol routes showed no movement. To outside observers, it looked like an empire pulling inward, uncertain and afraid. Inside the royal spire, nothing felt afraid. Queen Zyrala stood beside Elias as streams of hidden data flowed across a private display, invisible to anyone without special clearance. The lights reflected in her eyes, and for the first time since the war began, she did not feel as though she was reacting. She felt as though she was waiting. "The car are confused," one intelligence officer reported. "They are arguing among themselves. Their fleets hesitate even when unopposed. They're trying to force us to reveal ourselves," Elias said. "They don't know how to fight what they can't see." Zyrala studied him. "You planned this long before they attacked." "I prepared for the possibility," Elias replied. "Not for them specifically, for anyone who assumes quiet means weakness," she nodded slowly. "You speak as if this is familiar." Elias did not answer right away. Instead, he requested another report. "What about the empty research facility?" he asked. The officer hesitated. "No signs of destruction, no survivors, no bodies, everything useful was taken." Elias closed his eyes for a brief moment. When he opened them, his calm remained, but something heavier lay beneath it. "They found what they were looking for," he said. Zyrala turned sharply. "What did we lose?" "Not knowledge," Elias replied. "A door," she stared at him. "You will have to explain that." Before he could, another alert arrived. A car fleet had entered a system and stopped. Not advancing, not retreating. "They're waiting," the admiral said. "They want us to break silence," Elias replied. Queen Zyrala considered. "Then we won't." Hours passed. Then days. The car fleet remained still as if unsure what reality it was in. Smaller ships probed the system's edges, then pulled back when nothing responded. Inside the spire, Elias worked constantly. He moved between data rooms, command centers, and private terminals. He slept little. When he did, it was brief and dreamless. Queen Zyrala noticed. "You carry this as if it is personal," she said during a quiet moment. "In a way," Elias replied, "it is." She studied him closely. "You are no ordinary human." "No," he agreed. "I was never meant to be." That answer did not satisfy her, but she sensed that pushing now would break something fragile. Elsewhere in the galaxy, something ancient stirred. Within a hidden region of human-controlled space, signals activated that had not been used in generations. They were not military commands. They were confirmations. Conditions met. Observation phase complete. Authority recognized. Back in the Virelian Spire, Elias finally requested a private audience with the Queen. No advisors, no guards. The chamber sealed itself, walls glowing softly. "It's time you knew," Elias said. "Knew what?" she asked. "Why the car are afraid," he replied. "And why they should be." Zyrala remained silent, allowing him to continue. "Humans come from a harsh world," Elias said. "Not unique in that. Many species do. But what shaped us wasn't just danger. It was unpredictability." He activated a small projection between them. Images appeared, storms, shifting landscapes, fragile human cities standing against impossible odds. "Our planet never stayed still," Elias continued. "Neither did our history. We learned early that strength alone breaks. Adaptation survives." "You are describing philosophy," Zyrala said. "I'm describing design," Elias replied. The images shifted, human ships, compact, modular, unassuming. "We built systems that could change faster than threats," he said. "Not stronger, smarter." Zyrala narrowed her eyes. "The galaxy has seen human technology. It is modest." Elias smiled faintly. "What you've seen is what we allow to be seen." He changed the projection again. This time it showed networks instead of ships, invisible connections, redundancies layered over redundancies. "We learned long ago that visibility invites targeting," Elias said, "so we learned to disappear without vanishing." "Like now," she said. "Yes," Elias replied, "except this is just the surface." She folded her arms. "And you?" "I was trained to wake things," Elias said simply. Her gaze sharpened. "Weapons, protocols," he corrected. "Humans don't build kings or gods, we build safeguards." A quiet moment passed. "The car found one of those safeguards," Elias said. A research node that was designed to observe energy behaviors the galaxy hasn't fully understood yet. And now, she asked. Now they believe they stole power, Elias replied. But they don't understand the cost of using it. Before she could respond, alarms sounded again. This time the tone was different. A human signal, rare, encrypted, old. Elias straightened. They've crossed a line. What does that mean? Zarala asked. It means humanity is no longer just watching, he said. Across multiple star systems, human civilian vessels changed course. Mining platforms adjusted orbits. Communication relays realigned. None of it looked like preparation for war. It looked like preparation for endurance. The Car Dominion activated the stolen technology. At first, nothing happened. Then stars within the system shifted slightly, not moving but bending. Sensors struggled to interpret the readings. The car commanders celebrated too early. The energy field destabilized their own systems. Navigation failed. Internal power grids fluctuated. They tried to shut it down. They couldn't. The technology did not respond to them because it was never meant to. Back in the Virelian Spire, Elias watched the data feed, expression unreadable. They triggered a containment response, he said. It will isolate the system. Destroy it? Zyrala asked sharply. No, Elias replied, protect it from them. On the display, the affected system vanished from normal space, not destroyed, sealed. The car fleet inside was trapped, alive, unable to leave. Panic erupted within the Dominion. What have they done? Car leaders demanded. Their analysts found nothing. No enemy ships, no weapons firing, just absence. Fear spread faster than any fleet. Queen Zyrala turned to Elias, all clear in her voice. You could have used this against us. Yes, Elias said, but we didn't. Why? Because humans don't rule by fear, he replied. We rule by restraint. The Queen absorbed that in silence. News spread across the galaxy. The car advance halted completely. Other empires paused, suddenly reconsidering their assumptions. Humans were no longer invisible. They were simply present. In the days that followed, human envoys arrived quietly at key systems, not with demands, with offers, aid, stability, knowledge sharing. Queen Zyrala watched it all with new eyes. You changed the balance without conquering anything, she said. Elias nodded. That's the point. She faced him fully. You never told me what your true role was. He met her gaze. I was sent to observe whether this galaxy could grow without burning itself. And your answer, she asked. He looked out at the stars. It still might. Beyond the sealed system, the Car Dominion fractured under internal blame. Their leaders argued. Their fleets withdrew. They had not been defeated. They had been outgrown. And deep within human networks, the protocols shifted again. Observation phase ended. Engagement authorized. Partnership preferred. Elias exhaled slowly, as if releasing a burden he had carried for years. Queen Zyrala placed a clawed hand lightly on his arm. You married into this empire, she said, but you never needed its power. No, Elias replied, but I respect it. For the first time, she truly understood. She had not married a weak human. She had married the calm edge of a species that only revealed itself when the future depended on it. And the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The galaxy did not calm after the sealed system vanished. It held its breath. Trade lanes reopened slowly. Signals returned in careful waves. Empires that once watched the Virelians with polite distance now watched them with quiet concern. Something had changed, and no one could fully explain it. Inside the royal spire, Queen Zyrala felt the weight of that change every hour. Delegations arrived daily. Some came with praise. Others came with thin smiles and hidden questions. All of them wanted the same thing: answers. Elia's ward stood beside her through every meeting, just as calm as before. But now no one ignored him. They watched his posture. His silence. The way he spoke only when needed, and how the room seemed to shift when he did. A delegation from the Sarathi Union spoke first. The Car Dominion has withdrawn its fleets, their lead envoy said. They claim internal instability. That is unfortunate, Queen Zyrala replied evenly. The envoy hesitated, then continued. They also claim that humans possess technology capable of removing star systems from space. Elias did not react. Queen Zyrala tilted her head slightly. Claims are not facts. The envoy's eyes flicked to Elias. Then perhaps a clarification. Elias finally spoke. The system still exists. The envoy blinked. But it is protected, Elias continued, from misuse. The room fell quiet. You sealed an entire system, the envoy said carefully. That level of control frightens the council. Elias nodded once. Good. Fear can slow bad decisions. The delegation left soon after, unsettled. As the doors closed, Queen Zyrala turned to Elias. You are changing the balance faster than I expected. So are they, Elias replied. They're reacting. Is that dangerous, she asked. Yes, he said honestly. When old powers feel small, they become unpredictable. As if summoned by his words, a priority alert reached the command center. Multiple fleets, unknown alignment. Approaching neutral space, not Car, not Virelian, independent powers. Coalition movement, the admiral said, at least 4 empires. Queen Zyrala straightened. They're testing us. They're testing humanity, Elias corrected. The fleet stopped just short of Virelian territory. No weapons charged, no signals sent, a silent challenge. They want us to blink, the warlord said. Queen Zyrala looked to Elias. What do humans do in moments like this? Elias considered. We acknowledge presence without aggression. He stepped forward and authorized a broadcast, not military, not diplomatic, civilian. Human voices filled the channel, traders, engineers, medical crews, simple greetings, offers of aid, shared navigation data. The coalition fleets hesitated. They had expected threats. They had not expected normalcy. Slowly, one by one, the fleets powered down weapons and opened communication. The standoff dissolved without a single shot. The warlord stared at the display. You disarmed them with kindness. Elias shook his head, with confidence. Days later, troubling news arrived. The sealed system showed signs of strain. The containment field is stable, a human technician reported via secure channel. But external interference is increasing. Car remnants? Queen Zyrala asked. No, the technician replied. Other species, they're probing. Elia's jaw tightened slightly. They're curious. Can the seal hold? Zyrala asked. Yes, the technician said, but curiosity spreads. After the channel closed, Zyrala turned to Elias. If that system fails, it won't fail, Elias said, but it may force a decision. What decision? She asked. How visible humanity becomes, he replied. That night, Elias stood alone in the spire's observation chamber. The stars stretched endlessly before him. For the first time since arriving in Virelian space, his calm felt heavy. A human signal activated behind him. Observer Ward, a voice said. This is oversight. Elias did not turn. I wondered when you'd call. Engagement has accelerated, Oversight said. Your actions exceeded projected influence. The galaxy was closer to collapse than you predicted, Elias replied. A pause followed. Do you request authorization? Elias closed his eyes briefly. I request trust. Another pause. Longer this time. Granted, Oversight said at last, but remember the directive. Elias nodded. Preserve choice. The signal ended. Behind him, the chamber door opened. Queen Zyrala stepped inside. You look tired, she said. I am, Elias admitted. She joined him at the viewport. You carry the weight of more than one world. I chose this role, he replied. She studied his face. Did you choose me? Yes, he said without hesitation. That answer surprised her more than anything else he had revealed. Another crisis followed quickly. A joint fleet from 2 minor empires moved toward the sealed system, not hostile but determined. They believed the technology inside could protect them, the admiral said. They believe wrong, Elias replied. Queen Xyrala folded her hands. If we stop them by force, we prove every fear right. And if we don't, the admiral added, they breach the seal. Elias stepped forward. Then we go ourselves. The room froze. You, the admiral asked. Yes, Elias said, and a small delegation. Queen Xyrala turned sharply. Absolutely not. That system is unstable. It's stable to those it recognizes, Elias replied. And does it recognize you? She asked. He met her gaze. It was built by my people. Silence filled the chamber. You will not go alone, Xyrala said firmly. Elias hesitated. It's risky, she lifted her chin. I am your queen. And my partner, he said quietly. Preparations began immediately. A single human vessel accompanied the queen's flagship. No escorts, no weapons powered. The approaching joint fleet watched in confusion as the small group advanced calmly toward the sealed region. On open channels, Elias spoke. We ask you to stop, he said. This place is not what you think. What gives you authority? One commander demanded. Experience, Elias replied, and restraint. The commanders laughed, but uneasily. The queen's voice followed. Turn back, this is your last warning. The fleets hesitated, then continued forward. As they crossed the boundary, alarms screamed across their ships. Systems failed. Navigation collapsed. They did not die, they drifted. Elia's vessel passed through unharmed, followed by the Queen's ship. Inside the sealed region, space felt different, quiet, balanced. The stolen technology floated at the center, dormant again. Elias exhaled slowly. It's calming. Queen Xyrala stared at the silent stars. This power, it could reshape everything. Yes, Elias agreed. That's why it's locked. Will it ever be unlocked? She asked. When the galaxy is ready, he said. Outside the seal, the trapped fleets sent desperate messages. We can't move, one commander said. Help us. Elias opened a channel. You will be released. Why? Another demanded. Why not leave us? Because fear should teach, Elias said, not punish. Moments later, the seal adjusted. The fleets were pushed gently back into normal space, shaken but alive. The message spread instantly. Humans could stop you. Humans could save you, and they would choose which. When Elias and Queen Xyrala returned, the galaxy watched with something new in its collective mind. Respect. But respect always carries fear close behind. As Elias stood once more beside the Queen in the spire, he knew the final test was coming. Not of power, but of intent. And whether the galaxy could accept a species strong enough to walk away from domination. The hardest part was yet to come. The galaxy did not rush into chaos after the sealed system incident. Instead, it slowed. Meetings replaced mobilizations. Messages replaced threats. For the first time in a long while, space felt cautious rather than aggressive. Queen Xyrala felt the shift clearly. From the highest chamber of the royal spire, she watched stars drift past the wide, transparent wall. Fleets still moved, but they kept their distance. Empires still spoke, but their words were careful now. Beside her stood Elias Ward, hands relaxed at his sides, gaze steady. He looked the same as the day he arrived. Calm, human, ordinary, but nothing about him felt ordinary anymore. The council has requested a full assembly, an aide announced. All major powers, Xyrala nodded. They want answers. They want certainty, Elias said. And will you give it to them? She asked. He considered the question. Only the kind that allows choice. The Galactic Assembly Hall was larger than the Virelian Grand Hall, built to intimidate as much as to host. Hundreds of representatives filled the space, their forms and colors reflecting the vast diversity of life. When Queen Xyrala entered, silence spread. When Elias followed, the silence deepened. The council speaker rose. This assembly recognizes Queen Xyrala of the Virelian Empire and her human consort. A pause followed. We convene to address recent events, the speaker continued. The sealed system, the halted war. The revealed capabilities of humanity. Murmurs rippled through the hall. Humanity has disrupted the balance, one delegate said openly. Without warning, Elias stepped forward before Zyrala could respond. Balance was already breaking, he said calmly. We only stopped the fall. You sealed a star system, another delegate said sharply. That is power beyond any treaty. Yes, Elias replied, and we used it without destruction. That does not make it acceptable, a third voice argued. Elias nodded. It makes it responsible. The hall erupted into overlapping voices. Fear, anger, curiosity. Queen Zyrala raised her hand and the hall quieted. My empire has fought many wars, she said. I know the cost of unchecked strength. Humanity chose restraint when it had every advantage to dominate. That matters, the speaker turned to Elias. Then tell us plainly, what does humanity want? Elias took a slow breath. Humanity wants survival, he said. Ours, yours, the galaxy S. Laughter broke out from one corner. Every empire claims that. Yes, Elias agreed. But most define survival as winning. He looked around the hall, meeting eyes of every shape and color. We define it as continuing, he said. Together if possible. Silence followed. And if it's not possible, the speaker asked quietly. Then we endure, Elias replied. As we always have. A ripple of unease moved through the delegates. You could rule, one said. Why not take control and enforce peace? Elias shook his head. Peace enforced by fear is just quiet violence. Easy words, another voice snapped. Earned words, Elias replied. He activated a projection, not of weapons, not of fleets, of humans helping rebuild worlds damaged by war, of medical teams, of engineers stabilizing failing suns, of human ships leaving once the job was done. We have done this quietly for decades, Elias said. You noticed us only when we acted openly. The speaker leaned forward. Then why now? Because the galaxy reached a point where quiet help wasn't enough, Elias said. Someone was going to burn everything to feel safe. The mention of the Car Dominion drew uneasy looks. They were not the first, Elias continued. They won't be the last, but they were the test. A test, the speaker echoed. Of whether this galaxy can accept strength without control, Elias said. Another long silence followed. At last the speaker spoke again. And if we cannot, Elias' expression did not change, then humanity will keep choosing restraint, even if it costs us. That answer unsettled them more than any threat could have. After the assembly ended, no vote was taken, no resolution passed. But something more important happened. No one declared humanity an enemy. Back in the Virelian Spire, Queen Zyrala stood with Elias beneath the glowing arches of the inner garden. You stood before the galaxy, she said, and refused a throne. I never wanted one, Elias replied. She studied him closely. You could have reshaped everything. I did, he said gently, just not the way they expected. News continued to arrive over the following weeks. The Car Dominion fractured into smaller states, their aggression fading into internal rebuilding. Trade alliances formed where borders once bristled. Even long-standing rivals began limited cooperation, driven by a shared understanding. Humanity had become something new. Not rulers, not conquerors, a boundary. The sealed system remained sealed, but now it was watched by a joint council of species, with humans advising but not commanding. One evening, as artificial starlight filled the spire, Queen Zyrala removed her crown and set it aside. You never asked for more power, she said, never even hinted at it. Power changes people, Elias replied. I prefer clarity, she smiled slightly. You changed me. How? He asked. You showed me that strength does not need to announce itself, she said. That leadership can be quiet, he nodded. You already understood that, I just reminded you. A message arrived from human oversight. Final assessment requested. Elias read it silently, then closed the channel. Well, Zyrala asked. They want to know if this galaxy is stable enough to step back, he said. And your answer, she asked. He looked at her, then out at the stars. It's learning. That was enough. Weeks later, human fleets gradually reduced their visible presence. Aid missions continued, but oversight faded. Humanity returned to the background, not gone, just no longer pressing against the edges of awareness. The sealed system remained as a reminder, not of fear, of restraint. On a quiet day, Elias stood once more in the grand hall where his marriage had begun. Nobles moved around him, no longer whispering. Queen Zarala joined him. "When we married," she said, "I thought you were a symbol." "I was," Elias replied, "just not the kind anyone expected." She laughed softly. "You were the strongest being in the room and no one noticed." "That's usually how it works," he said. She turned serious. "Will humanity ever reveal everything?" Elias considered. "Only if there's no other choice." "And if there is?" she asked. "Then we stay human," he replied. Far beyond their world, the galaxy continued on, imperfect, tense, alive, but now it carried a new understanding, that somewhere among the stars lived a species that could dominate yet chose not to. That power did not always roar. Sometimes it stood quietly beside a queen, content to let the future breathe. And that, more than any weapon, changed everything.